Alex Ajoman, jack of all, master of none. Today what I am attempting to master, at least partially, is the repair and reassembly of my BMW motorcycle. There's a tire, and it's been sitting there. There's a few markings I put on it just for orientation's sake, but honestly, it's not something you can screw up because that goes to the inside, so that came off and got set to the side exactly how it came off. Now, here is the old rotor. And finally, considering I got ones in the mail, these are the old brake pads. Pretty thin. Still light though. The new ones are already on. And they are, let's see, right here. So, brand new pad. They're actually just over double the thickness of my thinnest old brake pad. And I would say there's probably a good quarter more left from my thickest used brake pad. But, got the new rotor on, sitting there. The new rotor gets snugged onto this piece, which can get taken off by 2 bolts. I had already gotten the final drive unit and everything put back together. I will make a suggestion. Do not try to, let's see. Yeah, you have to put this boot back on first, and that will mean there's actually a knuckle inside, which this bolt and one on the other side are actually they're threaded into the housing, but there's an alignment pin on the inside of those bolts that literally keeps this shaft. There's like a U-joint, it might be just a single U-joint here, to where it's situated in a floating manner. That way it cannot move except to obviously turn. I would highly suggest, obviously, you got to fight this over that because the U-joint is actually a little bit bigger diameter than this final drive housing right here. So fight that over. Got the band, or the hose clamp for this already tightened down. I had to order a new one. New plastic one for the backside. The ABS is about to get mounted in. It took a little bit for the brakes, just because the simple fact I completely forgot this tool. Yes, they probably make other ones for this, but this is a really small caliper. I didn't have a whole lot of space to begin with. So I know there's tools out there, but for vehicles, yes. Otherwise, I have used like giant vice grips that are in massive shape of a C, kind of like this, but they're vice grips. I also use these. Put one of the old brake pads in. That way you have the backing against the piston cups for the fluid, and then crank it down carefully. I've seen videos where people say, "Oh, you need to open it up, so you need to make sure so your brake fluid isn't going to overflow." I got a question there. If indeed you believe the brake fluid is going to overflow when all you're doing is pushing it back to original gapping, the original space that your pads had when they were brand new with a rotor in there. If all you're doing is pushing them back to that, how is it going to overflow? Unless somehow you added more. If you added more fluid, that's possible. If you don't have any leaks in your system, all your system's been doing is every single time you apply your brakes and they squeeze together, throughout the days, weeks, months it takes to lose some of the mass of the pads, it's just been pushing just a little bit more of the brake fluid into the amount, obviously the whole area, the hose, the caliper, the insides, everywhere the DOT brake fluid sits. It's just been pushing it a little bit more. So if you don't end up adding any brake fluid, My suggestion is feel free to carefully push. Use an old pad. Put it right where it belongs, as if you're going to put it back on, and use that C clamp, whatever manner you have. If you have the exact tool that actually has the mock pad metal backing for it's, I've seen them. I got the maintenance at work has them, but they actually have the double metal backing. Obviously, it's just two metal shims that are meant to be the metal backing for the brake for the pads, and then obviously it spaces them out. I don't have that. I've gotten along perfectly fine without that tool. In fact, tonight, if I had that tool, I likely would have left it. I likely would have left it with some of my other tools, because I'm in a storage unit for where I store my motorcycle. So I forgot that. It's thankfully the storage unit is in town, so I could run to the parts store and pick up a cheap 4-inch C clamp. So rotor's back on. New rotor's back on, and this is the old one. If you can see in some of the, there we go, in the gleam of the light, you can see all those striations, right? I hope you can. All these striations. Now, I grant you, this is smooth, but it is not flat. You want your rotors to be flat and smooth, because your pads are going to be that exactly the same, brand new. Let them get broken in and paired to each other the same way. And quite honestly, this might be hard to see in the light. Some of you can see it. Some of you, there you go. That's probably the best that I can get you right there, just about. Where you can see, like, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 smooth spots. Those are probably, I don't know. I'm gonna say those are like the mountains, the high points on here that have mated to the low points for the wavy pattern on this. So when I noticed that earlier this year, I decided, you know what? It's been so long that I haven't done the brakes on this bike yet. Not in the past 3 or 4 years. So let's replace some things. So I'm gonna secure the back of this boot down. I'm gonna get my ABS piece in with its shims. Don't forget the shims. When you take them off, put them back on. Tighten the caliper down. This is already tightened down, and then I can tighten that on, and I'm gonna go take it for a spin. And I'm gonna do my best to break in the pads to the new caliper, because both of them are brand new. Made the mistake of, hey, I got 2 of them. Wrong. I actually do have 2 new sets of brake pads. Problem is, they're both for the front of this bike. So I have enough to replace all new front ones, which I should probably take a look at next. I had none for the rear, and that was the ones I needed to replace. So almost all back together. Also, on this one, on this model, this is a BMW R1100 RT. So let's see, right here, there is a pin just under the shadow, just right next to my finger there. There's a pin. You just need something fine enough and sturdy enough to hammer at that and hammer the pin out. All you have is this one pin. Here, I'll show you. There's a little cradle on the other side in the caliper. Snug them in. That's where the one pin goes through. Both these opposing sides line up so that the pin can go straight through these holes. So it sits in a cradle on the other side of the caliper and gets stuck in that way with a pin to hold it in. So we should be good shortly. Hopefully I'll be showing you that, hey, it's fixed and going good next. Bye-bye for now. God bless. Do not stop learning.